Good evening, race fans, and welcome in to Talladega Superspeedway, where the MMS Money Racing Series heads here tonight. We've got another action-packed race on the money racing scene. It's good to be back, been off for a couple of weeks, but glad to see these guys back in action. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Still about 30 seconds to a minute away from getting things gridded up and getting rolling here tonight. We have got 50 laps of fast-paced action. A lot of drivers in ERA qualifying, but the guys that were able to make it over here going to be battling for some pretty stout payouts here tonight. As always, we talk about the size of the field, but we also got to talk about the names of the drivers. A lot of the regulars here tonight, we'll be talking about a couple of rookies, but when it comes to Talladega, we know that anything can happen in the draft. Qualifying has just wrapped up, so we're going to slowly start to turn our attention down trackside here momentarily, where we will get into the starting grid. A couple of housekeeping notes here on the PGR side of things. Of course, the ERA first race of Season 1 will be broadcasted on Wednesday, so if you're looking for that race, keep that in mind. Before we get into any further details, drivers are officially getting gridded up, so we're going to head over trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Field now rolling off as the pace car getting ready to get going. We had an interesting qualifying setup here tonight. Drivers actually qualified in groups, so these guys did have a little bit of draft that came into play, so we'll have to see how that did affect the lap times. All right, without further ado, the man that's going to start on the pole here for MMS Money Racing tonight is going to be Mike Davenport for the Jack Shack, trying to make sure things are getting updated again. We are still just introducing the new overlays, so if we have a couple of small issues with that, I do apologize, as actually these guys are going to have a brief warm-up. And so we'll talk about your qualifying results here before we actually set the starting grid. The man who it looks like will start on the pole, though, appears to be David Flanagan. We'll get to more of that, though, in just a moment. Setting a few more things up here just before we do get back to green flag racing. Looking at a couple of the names in here, as by the way, warm-up's only got about 3 to 5 minutes total left before we'll actually get rolling tonight. Jackson Byes, though, currently does lead the way, at least in terms of the warm-up times. Hunter Winkler, another big name that we'll see in the field here tonight. Tim White, Justin Melikar, and a few others all lining up to catch the green flag. Now, of course, still going to be in the Xfinity cars. That's kind of the first thing that jumps out. But the other thing to keep in mind, the exact same Xfinity car, no major changes, even with the somewhat new releases, if you will, that we have seen, of course, with a few of the different model cars, one of them being the next gens, and that is, of course, more of an older update now. But with these Xfinity cars, it's kind of a good hybrid, a good mix, if you will, on what you see between the next gens and the trucks. You can do a lot of pushing on the straightaways, but you've still got to be cautious with it, or you can catch yourself in a mistake. Now, as the warm-up does wrap up, we've got a couple more things I want to set up here before we actually get into race flow. So we're going to head back to the B-roll. We'll let it roll one more time around, and we will be back to get this thing kicked off. Stick with us. And good evening, everyone. Welcome back to virtual Talladega Superspeedway, where we are getting ready to get rolling in 50 laps of action here in the MMS Money Racing Series. If you're just joining us, a little bit of a later start here than what was scheduled. These guys did have a qualifying session about 5 to 10 minutes ago. That will set the starting grid here tonight. We've got about 10 to 15 seconds left here in the warm-up before we will finally see drivers actually get down trackside, and that will allow us to get into tonight's starting grid. But man, tell you what, excited to be back. Talked about these Xfinity cars in general. You're going to hear me interchange that with, of course, the O'Reilly Series, what it is now called, a few different times tonight, but more so than anything, excited to see some of these guys back in action. Of course, still covering Thursdays, and we've seen a lot of chaos since the PGR 500, but whenever you get over here to the MMS side of things, it is always the top guys, just about every single week. Looking forward to seeing what we've got that's going to be delivered here tonight. So without any further ado, this time we're going to actually turn our attention down trackside as the field gets gridded up, and we're getting ready to get rolling here tonight. 50 laps of action at the high banks. The man who will set the pole is one of the Jack Shack drivers, David Flanagan. Puts himself a pretty stout lap time to get himself that front row starting position. It'll be Malik Ray, one of the Coke Series drivers, who rolls off to his outside in second, and he puts down a pretty good lap time to get himself that front row starting spot on the outside line. Moving on back to row number 2 here tonight, it is going to be Cody Nagels, former ERA champion. He will roll off on the inside of row number 2. He'll have Nathan Harper to his outside in the number 15 machine. Starting back in position number 5 here tonight is going to be Steve Sizemore in the number 8. He'll have Sean Corbett rolling from his outside in 6th. Moving on back to what'll be officially row number 4 here tonight. There's a couple of names that we have talked about a lot over about the last month. Hunter Hastings rolls off on the inside in P7, and it's going to be Jackson Byes to his outside in number 8. Back in row number 5, it is going to be one of the Dega Pro's captains, John Ward. He will start from 9th, and it's going to be Justin Melikar to his outside in 10th. As we go on back to 11th, it's going to be Chase Mastretta. That's another one of the Jack Shack drivers. He'll have Brock Westmoreland, one of the Team PGR drivers, to his outside in 12th. 13th is going to be Miles Bagley. He'll have James Waring to his outside in the number 13 car. That Ford Mustang going to have some work to do if he wants to get to the front. Back in 15th, it'll be Tim White starting alongside Larry McDonald, as those two will make up row number 8. Mike Davenport will start 17th in the number 55 car. He'll have Cameron Craighead back to his outside in 18th. And rounding out the top 20, it's going to be Evan Carlbon and Kyler Wynn. Back in 21st, it is going to be Joshua McCullough. He'll start alongside Dwayne Drummond in the 41 machine. Back in 23rd, Hunter Winkler. He'll have one of the veterans, McCullough Motorsports captain Ken McCullough Jr., to his outside in 24th. Row 13, Dustin Cohen alongside the 59 of Mark Vondell. That's a Chevy and a Toyota. And then back in row number 14 is going to be Dylan Jones alongside Daniel Eberhardt in 27th and 28th. And the last man who will start in the field here tonight, the number 12 machine, that is Ethan Eckert. Talking about your race info here tonight. Again, we're going to go 50 laps at Talladega Superspeedway. 50% fuel. Going to throw some strategy into play. We'll get into that as the race gets going. Unlimited tire sets, but again, no fast repair, fixed setups, and then one green-white checkered if you were to need it. Track temp here starting out is on the lower side, well under 100 degrees. Sim temp 67, cloudy skies, and winds not going to be an issue. A beautiful night to go racing in the sim here at virtual Talladega. And if you're just joining us, we appreciate you being here. Get strapped in. Let's get ready to go. 50 laps of action in the MMS Money Racing Series. 29 cars getting ready to roar to life as Flanagan leads us into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Talladega. Field working 2x2 down the Talladega backstretch for the first time here tonight. Malik Ray already with the nose out in front. He's going to pull himself clear down the backstretch, but no move to the inside yet for that one car. Flanagan was able to draw back even. A lot of swerving further back. I'm not sure if these lines are a little bit out of shape or if it's just all the energy early. As you see the 13, that's James Waring. He's going to jump 3 wide as he'll fade towards the back of the field. But up front, still just about side by side, outside with a little bit of an advantage. And it looks like it is going to be Malik Ray here who will clear down. He is going to likely lead lap 1 as Nathan Harper drag races him back to the line. Again, 50 laps here tonight, but with 50% fuel, these guys can likely only make it somewhere around 20 laps under green flag conditions. Of course, if we get a caution, that changes everything, but you've got to already be thinking about how you want to position yourself if we were to get to a green flag pit stop. Sean Corbett currently sitting in that third spot, but second on the outside line as he continues to try to push his way to the front. There's the onboard view for Sean Corbett, doing a good job here in the early going. We talk about all the pushing and shoving that you got to do, but you still got to be very careful, especially in these Xfinity cars, when it comes to pushing in the corner, especially early on. You don't want to get too aggressive. You got to kind of consider that risk versus reward scenario. But for Sean Corbett, obviously started up inside the top 10. Still on the move, though, early. He now finds himself inside of the top 3. Best view in the house, though, goes to this guy right here, the 15 of Nathan Harper. Currently led 1 lap so far to kick off the night. Going to do a lot more as this race continues to go on. 2x2 at the front of the field. Further back, they start to single file out really as you get towards right around Steve Sizemore, Dwayne Drummond. That's the 41 machine, actually. The bright neon green and black colors for what I believe is his Chevy Camaro. Currently sitting again back in the 19th spot. Dylan Jones 20th. And then as you get further back here, a couple of the McCullough Motorsports teammates, Mark Vondell and Ken McCullough Jr., currently sitting basically single file, just kind of minding their business right now. Daniel Eberhardt back here drafting as well. And this group still well within reach of the front pack, so no concerns of losing the draft for them. And that's going to be a different story, though, as you go a little bit further back here. This is Kyler Wynn, who currently finds himself in 27th. I'm not sure what the issue was here for Kyler. Maybe missed the start. Either way, you can notice right there on the track map, he is currently sitting about a half a lap behind everybody else. So Kyler Wynn, a lot of work to do here, but if he gets caution, that could certainly be the break that he needs. 3 wide a little bit further back here. Evan Carlbon trying to get aggressive as he's going to look to the outside. One of the Jack Shack Racing drivers trying to get a little bit of help here. It looked like he had one taker further back. I believe that was indeed the 33 machine. Is that Jackson Buys? No, it's Cameron Craighead in the all-black Toyota Supra here tonight, trying to make his way back towards the front of the field. And still early on, we haven't seen too much aggression at the front of the field, so I got to think whoever's leading the way here, which has been kind of split between the 1 of Malik Gray and the 15 of Nathan Harper, these guys are managing temperatures pretty well here in the early going. But as we start to get further on, it's going to be interesting to see which lane is able to prevail here tonight. We talked about the weather at the start of the race, but just in case you did miss it, temperature in the sim, 66 degrees. Track temp is well under 100. No wind coming into play. In terms of sky condition, see if cloudy skies are able to cool track temp down a little bit more, but certainly should be a lot of grip on the racetrack here tonight as that third lane really got working right there. The 84 Mellicar went to the high side. He had a huge push from Chase Mastretta. That one out pulled 2 of the Jack Shack drivers back clear and leading the outside line here at Talladega. Intensity, though, still ramping up. Third lane, whoa, big wiggle. Mellicar's got to save it. That's going to stack the field up. Can Malik Ray and everybody else hold on? 4 wide briefly. Nathan Harper finds himself in the odd man out position. It looks like Calbon is going to slot back down just in front of him. That'll allow everybody to catch their breath. But man, was that a close call, even in the early going. Only 6 of 50 laps in the books. And we almost just had our first caution of the night. Let's back this up one more time and watch it. All really starts off at turn 4. We talked about Mellicar and Chase Mastretta getting this big run. They're lined up bumper to bumper on the high side, but then watch as they start to get towards the tri-oval. Mastretta here, a little bit hasty on if he wants to go to that third lane or stay to the bottom. Carlbon's got to check up for him. That causes the 33 to get back into the 78. He gets down into the 15. And at the same time, you have Mellicar dealing with his own issues as he was getting a handful from the front bumper of Malik Ray. Back live now, they're 2x2 up front, but it is the 78 of Evan Carlbon currently leading the way. Further back you go, no more 3 wide just yet. But definitely something that a lot of the drivers are going to be taking notes of early is how quickly that third line was able to get to the front when you get the right pushers in it. Now further towards the back, where we did have some of that single file action earlier, right around Mark Vondell, Ken McCullough Jr., Steve Sizemore, you notice these guys have all started to tighten it up here just a little bit, no longer sitting further back. It makes me think that maybe they were getting a little bit concerned about either losing the draft or felt like they weren't as worried about fuel as maybe what they were initially thinking, whatever the case may be. For Steve Sizemore, currently sitting in 23rd. He's actually lost 18 positions from where he started this race at. Mark Vundell, on the other hand, going in the right direction. Currently sitting 24th. He's picked up 2 spots from where he started this race at. Mark's still got a little bit of work to do here to break inside the top 20. But a lot of laps left to go in this race. 1 lap around Talladega, by the way. We talk about it a lot, but over 2.5 miles. This is the biggest track that the stock cars will go to, at least on the oval side of things. Over 30-plus degrees of banking in the corners. But for some of the Money Racing regulars, they had a race before this earlier tonight. We saw a few of these guys in that one. Of course, it wasn't broadcasted. But maybe a few tempers, a few hurt feelings carrying over. Some of the guys that got taken out on that one, looking to see if they can surge back. And boy, Carlbahn, man, big move back to the high side right there, as he had to cover the momentum for Nathan Harper. It's now going to move the 15 back up to second. Chase Mastretta leads the bottom. Justin Melicar here, obviously trying to get up to the 8, but he doesn't have a ton of support from the 1 of Malik Ray. Makes you wonder if this inside line is starting to wear out in terms of engine temperatures, as that is now going to allow Jackson Byes to start to scoot back up. Big wiggle right there in the middle lane. That was actually just behind Jackson Byes. That looks like that made it in the 9 machine. Trying to figure out exactly who that was. That was a big-time catch. That was close to being a huge incident. Everybody was able to hold on. For David Flanagan, one of the drivers who we, of course, talked about getting the pole for this race, had a pretty good start. Now finds himself just slightly buried. Currently sitting back in that 10th spot. As all the cars getting a quick refresh on the paint schemes here. Wanted to make sure that we had everything updated trading paints-wise as we went through this race. But it is still Evan Carlbahn who leads the way. 3x3 though now as they climb the banking into turn number 1. Outside line starts to roll. And it is Brock Westmoreland, one of the Team PGR drivers. The 11 machine trying to find his way to the front. Got to be really careful here. A lot of pushing. There's Carlbahn. He's going to go back to the middle, trying to defend this run here for Brock Westmoreland. There's the view out of the left rear. He's got one of his teammates, Nash Brambilla, in the 239. Tim White, rather, doing all the pushing. And oh, man, big wiggle right there. That's exactly what you worry about. Brock got a shove through the middle of the corner. That car started to get a little bit uneasy, and that was another big-time moment. But for Brock Westmoreland, he is able to hold on. Still 3 wide, but this time at the line, it is going to be Evan Carlbahn. By him jumping to the outside, it really started to hurt the momentum of that 3rd lane, and I think the pushers just basically kind of ran out of juice. Trouble. Carlbahn going to get turned. Down to the inside, goes to 78, trying to save it. Mastretta had a big slide as well. They're both going to catch it and somehow get back on the racetrack without any incident. That was a huge moment for 2 of the Jack Shack teammates, as it looked like maybe, not sure if Carlbahn was late on a block down to the bottom or if the push got a little sideways. Watch this here, though, for the 78 of Evan Carlbahn as they're coming through the short chute down into turn 1. Boy, it's close. It almost looks like Carlbahn may have wiggled down there just a little bit. And Chase Mastretta, I would assume, maybe trying to let the 78 in, but just a misjudgment here. Man, that's a little tough to tell if it was the push from Harper or if Carlbahn was just trying to go down to the inside of the racetrack. And you see the hands already working there. That's in slow motion, by the way, folks. Watch this in full speed. For Carlbahn here, does it look like he tries to go down? It's hard to say. It may have been a bump. Either way, that is an unbelievable catch by him and Chase Mastretta. A nice job by Melicar and the rest of the field to be able to avoid any further contact in that incident. We are still 3 wide, though, at the front of the pack. Did not shy any drivers away here from staying aggressive, and now we're going to have potentially a new leader at the front of the field. Harper goes to the bottom, but Dwayne Drummond with a big run through the middle now as he's going to try to go to the point off of turn 4. A lot of discombobulation on that 3rd line. Miles Bagley jumped out. Cody Nagels is trying to line him up. They almost went 4 wide just briefly. But everybody was able to get it situated here and get things sorted back out. So we've had a couple of close calls so far. And if you're just tuning in, you are watching the MMS Money Racing Series here on a Monday night from Talladega Superspeedway. I mentioned a couple of those close calls, but we haven't had any actual cautions. So a green flag pit stop is still well in play with 13 of 50 laps in the books. So it'll probably be about another 7 or 8 laps before we really start to talk about pit stops. But I think that's why we're starting to see the aggression pick up. A lot of these guys feeling like they've got to get to the front now. You obviously don't want to find yourself trapped towards the back when we do get to that round of green flag pit stops. You never know what can happen get caught up in a wreck either on pit entry, maybe a little bit of a slow pit stop. Anything that could potentially cost you, lose a couple of spots. Next thing you know, you're fighting just to try to hang with the draft by the time things are all said and done. Well, one of the drivers that we haven't had a chance to talk too much about yet tonight, but we're going to be keeping our eye on really as we go throughout the entirety of the race, is Hunter Hastings, currently sitting in that 12th spot. Hastings did qualify well up inside the top 10. He's been back and forth a few times, but I think with the way he's got that number 9 machine running right now, he is going to be in contention late in this race. As you see a move to the outside right there, that's actually Hunter Winkler, another one of the drivers that I have not got to call out too much on the Money Racing scene, but he is moving through the field. He's picked up 10-plus positions from where he started this race at. Still 3 wide as you get towards about row number 4 on back. At the front, though, 2x2. Mastretta, man, another big wiggle right there. Harper tried to give him a bump right as that car was unloading off the corner. And that was yet another close call. If you're keeping tally, that's the 3rd almost caution that we have seen so far here tonight. And that 3rd lane with a big surge. Cameron Craighead's going to go to the front here off the push from Malik Ray. Winkler's going to try to stay up top and see if he can propel that one car to the front. Just one Ford and one Chevy on the outside. It's not going to be enough. They'll need a little more help. Craighead here with a little bit of a surprising move. He's going to jump back to the high side. Malik Ray gets him a little bit offset. All of a sudden, the middle and the bottom start to surge back. Cody Nagels and Daniel Eberhardt now bumper to bumper. 2 Chevys lead the way. 2 Fords just behind him. The first Toyota is currently sitting on that outside line. Now, in terms of teammates here tonight, obviously a big mix. Some of the drivers I would keep an eye on, Mastretta and Cody Nagels, to see if those two are maybe working in some sort of alliance here tonight. I'd more so say that teammate-wise, Cody Nagels likely working with Daniel Eberhardt and Dylan Jones. Of course, the McCullough Motorsports drivers, the Jack Shack, and then Malik Ray likely working with a few of the guys that we saw on the field here tonight. That would include Jackson Buys, likely Ethan Eckert as well, but he had some sort of issue, and it did not start this race. By the way, Kylo Wynn has fallen a lap down. I'm not sure if that was actually from the start of the race when we saw him way separated from the rest of the field or something else. And then for Dustin Cohen here, for the Home Depot machine, the number 20, currently sitting back in that 26th spot. And he is another one of the drivers here that will be in desperate need for a caution. So that 3rd lane has just about all but dwindled now. Cody Nagels just about up on the point now. He has picked up a couple of spots from where he started, had a good qualifying effort up inside the top 3. Chase Mastretta up 10. Daniel Eberhardt still your biggest mover inside the top 10. He has picked up 24 spots from where he started this race at. And another big moment. This time it was on the outside line. Ken McCullough Jr. ready to try to go to the front. I think he senses pit stops on the horizon here. And the 03 is trying to bring a couple of friends along with him here. Malik Ray trying to get this outside line to work. And then the pink and black machine, John Ward, also trying to advance his way to the front of the field now on that high side. They're going to get a 4th taker. Winkler's going to go up top, and it makes it 4 up top, 4 in the middle, and a whole lot more on the bottom. Nagels is going to jump to the inside. This will allow the middle to start to cycle temps. Daniel Eberhardt was pushing for so long, but he'll finally get a little fresh air to the nose of his Ford Mustang. Question now is, what does Miles Bagley have left? They're trying to fend off that big charge on the outside. No side draft, though, and Ken McCullough Jr. will be able to take that momentum, and he is going to ride it all the way to the front, able to get clear. Daniel Eberhardt, he'll go down 1, make it 2 lanes. As Malik Ray is also going to jump down to the middle. 18 of 50 laps in the books. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You are watching MMS Money Racing live on a Monday night from Talladega Superspeedway. As we continue to build up the anticipation to the season opener for ERA, you'll see a lot of the same faces that you see here tonight in that race, including one of the former ERA champions. You knew we were going to have to give him a shout-out at some point here tonight, and that is the number 6 machine, Cody Nagels. He got it done actually at Daytona just a year back, and so I know for Cody what it would mean for him to try to capture that race, but he's trying to get a little bit of extra cash here tonight. And the 6 car has already led a couple of laps. After qualifying in 3rd, he finds himself in that spot now. The lead pusher, whoa, that was another big stack up. Saw Chase Mastretta there get to the back bumper of the 6, trying to make a 3-car tandem work. But it was just not the right situation to do it right there, and that was, once again, another really, really close call that I think we got away with. Malik Ray with the momentum. We'll see when he decides to jump to the bottom. Talk about here, we're going to come to lap 20, so I got to think pit stops are getting pretty close. And that's exactly what Malik Ray is going to do here. He'll jump to the bottom, was trying to make sure he pulled Eberhard with him. Watch out, this is going to stack up the inside. This could cause trouble out back here. Melikar trying to catch it. That's going to spin the 11 of Brock Westmoreland. Caution's going to come out as the 11 slides. Everybody tries to dodge him, and it looks like most of them will. Westmoreland's going to come to a halt down in the grass. He's got a little bit of bumper damage. But all things considered, that car could have certainly been a whole lot worse. Good save right there for the driver out of Greenville, Tennessee. And again, unless there was some sort of race change that I may have missed here in the race info, don't believe that these guys have any faster pairs here tonight. So for Brock Westmoreland, obviously he'll have to get the optional damage fixed on this car, but doesn't look like anything too bad. No suspension components knocked out of that race car. Just a little bit of damage there to the rear end of his Ford Mustang. We'll go back and get a replay of this here in just a moment, but very curious on what this is going to do for pit strategy, as I got to assume here that these drivers now are going to be thinking about going in for obviously full fuel and potentially some tires, although we haven't seen grip be a huge issue up to this point here tonight. So Malik Ray, by the way, is currently being scored as your leader as our first caution of the night comes out. Let's go back and take a look at it here for Brock Westmoreland. We're going to back this up a little bit more before we actually play it out. And Brock, again, was running right around the middle of the pack, but the checkup actually started up front. You could almost see it really developing and starting to snowball the further back you went. Watch it from the chopper view. You see up front, Malik Ray is going to pull Eberhard down. It's a beautiful move. And right as the 03 gets to him, he's trying to lift just a little bit. It almost looks like Ken McCullough Jr. maybe gets a little bit of a shot right there. Top of your screen from the 6 of Cody Nagels, and that's going to shoot him into the back bumper of Eberhard. Causes this stack up, and everybody's trying to let the 90 back on the racetrack. That stack up snowballs the further back you go. Eventually, Brock Westmoreland gets tagged, sent around, and then a little bit of contact for Corbett, Craighead, and Justin Melikar. But again, nothing too major overall, and then everybody else here able to miss him. Good job right at the end there for Tim White to be able to stay out of trouble in this one. Let's go back and get an onboard view here. Rather for Tim White, he was right at the back of this chaos as it all broke out. And for Tim White right here, he's going to see the stack up and actually does a pretty good job here being able to get on the brakes in time to, again, miss any sort of major issue with this. He sees the check in the front. A little bit of contact there for the 80 of Larry McDonald as he got ran over. And I would say all things considered, that's about as light of a Talladega wreck as you can have there for Westmoreland to get away unscathed. All right, let's go back live now as you see the field making their way out of the pits. And no surprise here, everybody going in for their first service of the night. Now, we're not going to be within the fuel window just yet, so I don't think that pit stops are done completely. But for Malik Ray, job well done to the virtual pit crew. He went in as the leader. Will come out the same. John Ward is going to pick up a spot as he is now in second. Cody Nagels third. Ken McCullough Jr. in fourth. And it's Nathan Harper who currently rounds out the rest of your top five. So with Malik Ray leading here, and we'll show this more in detail here in just a moment, but we're likely going to go back green with somewhere right around 22 to 23 laps in the books would be my guess, maybe 24 at the most. So you got to think about next pit stop would be probably somewhere right around the lap 40 margin, unless these guys decide to pit as soon as they get in the fuel window. If that were to be the case, I'd say they pit probably more so right around 10 laps-ish after we go green, just to give yourself enough wiggle room in case we have any overtimes at the end of this thing. But that was a big break for a couple of drivers, most notably big break for the Canadian, Kyler Wynn, who will now find himself back up with the race leaders for this restart, as I don't believe anybody else felt a lap down. So Kyler Wynn should be getting a lucky dog, as he will take 4 tires, fill it up with gas, and get his number 82 machine back in contention for this race. And the other driver that we were keeping an eye on was, of course, Dustin Cohen, who is currently being scored at 27th. We'll get his lap down or not status here in just a moment, but he started 25th, and after losing touch with the lead pack early, finds himself in at 27th. Looks like we may have a couple of drivers here that do decide to top off. Malik Ray not showing that he's going to go in here, so it looks like the one car will indeed stay out. No big surprise right there. And before we do get back to Green Flag Racing, I do want to give a couple of shout-outs to a few of our drivers that are carrying onboard views for us here tonight. We'll head a little bit further back in the field and start first with Sean Corbett. He's got the cockpit set up right there. Triple monitors for Corbett. Certainly one of the nicer rigs that you see across the Money Racing platforms, but he's been doing a good job tonight. Currently sitting in that 24th spot, so obviously lost some track position here with this most recent caution. But overall for Sean Corbett, again, it's got to be feeling like a pretty good night so far. So got a couple more onboard views here. We're going to scoot up next to one of the drivers that I mentioned. I haven't got a chance to call his name a ton on the money racing side of things just yet. But Hunter Winkler, who's been doing a good job so far here tonight, currently finds himself in 16th. He's picked up 7 spots from where he started this race at in that number 12 machine. And it looks like he'll restart on the outside. So if there's any thought here for Hunter to maybe think about going to that third lane, it'll be very interesting to see if he's able to get any help to go with him. And last but certainly not least, Jackson Buys carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. Looking a little sleepy behind the wheel as we continue to pace around here. He's ready to get back into action. And Jackson Buys, of course, in the center of some of that controversy that we saw during the PGR 500. But since then, been able to keep a much cooler head and finds himself in good position here to try to cash tonight. All right, so we are getting ready to get back to green flag racing. And once again, if you're just joining us here, get close to the halfway point here in tonight's action for the MMS Money Racing Series. I saw quite a few folks in the chat. I want to make sure that we are saying hi to everybody watching here tonight. If I miss anybody, I apologize. But I saw Devin Ray, Richard Elliott, Jeff Merck tuning in. Good to see you guys. Hope that you are having a good Monday night. Well, what it can be at least for a Monday night. And then I'm not sure if that's Ethan Eckert. I would believe so in the chat. Good to see Ethan. And then Devin Ray says, I hear RMR starting tomorrow. I have not heard the rumors yet, Devin, but I did hear the rumors about it coming back. We'll have to see if that kicks off tomorrow. All right, iRacing.com pace car going to make the left turn for the second time here tonight. First restart, though, as it will be Malik Ray and John Ward who lead us back into the restart zone. Malik Ray chose the outside and watch for a little bit of a jump here for the one machine. Green flag back in the air. Going to be 29 laps to go here at Talladega. Good restart from Malik Ray, but John Ward actually able to match him fairly well on the bottom. As they climb the banking into turn number 1, Malik Ray not going to be able to pull Ken McCullough Jr. clear. He's got a decision, and he's going to go back down to the inside. He'll pick up a push from the Dega Pro's captain. And for Malik right here, he's got to be thinking about jumping back to the high side. There it is. He saw the momentum. Now that's going to stack him up once again. Very similar move in a degree to what we saw a few times from a couple of the leaders earlier. But obviously for Malik Ray, it's so important to try to catch that lane when it's got the momentum in order to try to keep yourself up front. Dylan Jones in the 4 machine now starting to make his way up inside the top 10, currently sitting 7th. And watch for him to try to get together here with Daniel Eberhardt and potentially Cody Nagels as well. Talked about Cody, obviously, at the start of this race. Found himself leading a couple of laps. Now currently sits 4th, lead pusher on the inside line. Malik going to get back clear. He'll jump down to the inside. That's going to give the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. a chance to cool off just a little bit. And now that cycles all the pushing duties back to the 8 car of Chase Mastretta. It's such a delicate balance here. Obviously, you're wanting to go for it. And we talked about, these Xfinity cars and the fact that it's a little bit easier to push than the Cup cars, but you still got to really square it up. And you can tell that for the 03 and the 1, the connection has not been great so far tonight. Ken McCullough Jr. trying to find a smoother transition, if you will, to the back bumper of Malik Ray. But every time they have that little hiccup and it causes that brief stack up, it allows that inside lane to roll. Now, of course, if you are Malik Ray here, you're trying to keep both lanes in control. Trouble out back, one in the wall. Is that Nathan Harper? No, that's Daniel Eberhardt. The rest of the field's going to scatter. Caution is going to come back out as we have got multiple cars around in the tri-oval. One hard into the outside wall. That's Winkler. His car's got heavy damage. It looks like we may have a couple others involved. Miles Bagley's got damage. But it still looks like the worst of this maybe going to the 12 of Winkler. That car's shaking around a little bit here. The hope is that he doesn't have suspension damage. I think that's maybe what he's trying to feel out for right now. Second caution of the night here. And that is going to come out at an interesting time. Malik Ray is still being scored as your leader. And we talked about the fuel window. These guys, when we go back green this next time, it's probably going to be somewhere right around 25-ish laps. So I don't think you're necessarily good to make it to the end yet, but we are definitely getting closer to that being a question. Well, obviously, we talked about the damage here for Hunter Winkler. He's going to have to go in and get repairs. We look at Miles Bagley, though. He's got some decent damage to the front nose and the left side of his race car. maybe somewhat optimistic here that even with that broken suspension, he's limping it back to the pits. I didn't think these guys had a fast repair coming into the race tonight. But maybe they do. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on here as they come around this time. Either way, though, let's go back and take a look at what brought out here your second caution of the night. As they were going through the trial, it looked like it started up front. Oh, it's a big stack up. Did somebody blow a motor? Or is this something else? That was a really big stack up here in a really short amount of time. Didn't hear anything that would indicate somebody's motor blowing up. Watch it here from the chopper view. You see the 6 Nagels here. There's a little bit of a lift, and I think that actually... Was that from the second place car? I think that was indeed from the gold and black 6 of Cody Nagels right here. No, I take that back. John Ward actually had that stack up, and that led to the rest of the field. That's an interesting backup here for John Ward. Watch it again. Watch for the fire out of the pipes here of the purple and black 92 machine. Definitely interesting right there, and then that stack up really starts to escalate back quickly, and then everybody has to scatter to miss it. And this one collected quite a few of them here that got involved, at least in some fashion. We obviously saw the 12 of Winkler, and he got pretty torn up from this one. By the time it was all said and done, we'll get you a better view of this here in just a moment. Watch Winkler here as this breaks out up front, top of your screen. The checkup quickly forms. It gets all the way back to right around Hunter Hastings, Nathan Harper. That's when everybody starts to get turned around. You see the 239 of Tim White get turned. And, oh, that's a big hit for Winkler, who was coming back up the track. The 87 of Bagley had nowhere to go, and then Kyler Wynn plows into the both of them. And that's what really led to all of that damage that you saw right there. And we'll get a couple more angles of this here before we do officially go back live. Again, see it start at the front. Jackson Byes did get turned around as well. It looked like for him, Carlbot, and a few others, though, more so an innocent slide. A lot of them did catch it. But yeah, for Bagley, Wynn, and Winkler, that is big-time damage on all three of those race cars. And that is something that I would definitely say I would worry a little bit about, whether or not they can get that fixed here and still have a competitive shot. We're getting ready to find out, though, whether fast repairs were in contention or not. As we go a little bit further back in the field, we obviously talked about some of the cars that were most torn up in that incident. Hunter Winkler was one of them. Well, guess what? His car is brand new, so it answers that question. These guys actually do have one fast repair here tonight. And with this incident, I think we will have now had about 3 to 4 guys that have had to use it. So we'll go back green here with, again, pretty close to about 25 laps to go. That'll be halfway in this 50-lap event. The man currently leading the way is still Malik Ray. Fuel mileage is going to be close. 25 laps I still think is too long to be able to make if you really save hard in the draft. And maybe 23, 24 I think is still stretching it. I'd be very amazed if anybody was able to push it even further than that to make it to lap 25. Looks like the lights on the pace car will go off this time. So we are getting ready to get back to green flag racing. As Malik Ray will choose the high side. It's going to be Ken McCullough Jr., to his inside. And Cody Nagels and Dylan Jones will be sitting in row 2. Well, as we get ready to get back to green flag racing, we're going to take a quick break. We'll go side by side and be right back just in time for the green flag. Stick with us as Malik Ray will lead us to green here at Talladega. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Getting ready to get back to green flag racing here in the MMS Money Racing Series. Taking a look at your race recap here just before we do get back to green flag racing. 27 of 50 laps complete. Malik Ray leading us back to green. We have had 2 cautions so far for 6 laps. But how about that? 12 lead changes already. And we will see that number continue to climb here as we go through the rest of the race. Still not within that final fuel window just yet. So we'll have to see if patience has ran out or if these guys are still content to take it easy for a little bit longer. Green flag is back in the air. 28 of 50 laps in the books. Excuse me, make that 24 of 50 laps in the books. As we get back to green flag racing here. So far, so good as they climb the banking into turn number 1. Side by side, but you saw Malik Ray do a very similar setup to what he did on that last restart. Jumping down to the bottom lane as they got through the banking in turn 1 and 2. But by the time they exit the corner, goes right back to the high side to pick up all that energy from the top lane. We're starting to see some of the bigger names too moving towards the front. You've got obviously Ken McCullough Jr., Cody Nagels, Chase Mastretta. That's a strong trio on the bottom. Sean Corbett, we've called his name a few times tonight. He is now starting to move back to the front as well. For the 45 car, a little bit of a break just behind him, where we see the 41 of Dwayne Drummond, Hunter Hastings, Justin Mellicar back there as well. Jackson Byes now finds himself at the back of that lead group. And then a little bit of a break here back to the 20 car, who is trying to catch up. Kyler Wynn in that group as well. A lot of those guys did have to use their one fast repair. And a quick update on the 27th place, Dustin Cohen, currently still a lap down. So he is hoping for one more caution to try to get himself back on the lead lap. 2x2 down the backstretch here at Talladega. A Chevy on the inside, a Ford leading the outside. A lot of pushing and shoving still. These guys have not had to give way just yet, as temperatures continue to not be a major factor, at least in what we have seen in the racing so far here tonight. Further back, Brock Westmoreland had a little bit of a run, and he's going to take it to the outside. 3 wide as you get further back, trying to get this run to go to the front. And oh man, you can tell Brock really wanted to duck in line just in front of the 80 right there of Larry McDonald. Thought better of it. He's going to stay to the outside, and now Hunter Hastings is going to join the fray. The 9 car jumps to the outside, and now it is going to make it a 4-car tandem. At least try to get tandemed up, I should say, but a 4-car line on that third lane. Larry McDonald washes up just a little bit. That could hurt the momentum briefly, but they're getting ready to draw even. They're going to be 3x3. Just about all the way through the top 10 as we had one going around in the back here. Trying to save it. No. Going to be trouble here. Big hit for James Waring, Mike Davenport. The 90 of Daniel Everhart as the caution is going to come back out for the 3rd time tonight. And the 20 of Dustin Cohen, who we were just talking about, needed to get his lap back, was just trying to play the patience game until we got another caution. Unfortunately finds himself involved in this one. Good news for the 20 car is, of course, with that fast repair, he will be able to go in and get this thing repaired. The bad news is that by being involved in this caution, he is going to remain trapped a lap down. And so with this caution coming out, we are now, I would say, likely going to be within the fuel window here for everybody that goes in. We may even see a couple of drivers decide to top off, maybe even some fuel saving. We'll have to get into all that in just a moment. Before we do, let's go back and look at what happened, though, here to Dustin Cohen. This really started somewhere on the early portion of the backstretch. We're going to see as they come out of the corner here. We're going to blink cam first. I don't think it actually starts with Dustin Cohen. I think it's a little bit further up. Yeah, it's actually right around the 19 of Jackson Byes. He's kind of one of those first drivers that starts to get in trouble. It looks like James Waring maybe as well, right near where this contact started. So watch it again. I'll play it in full speed first for you. There's the 13 of James Waring. He's on the inside line. Daniel Everhart to his outside. And then Cameron Craighead, was he trying to slot up in the gap? Boy, that's almost what it looks like right here. See, Byes has got to run on the outside. Well, that's a little tough to say. We're going to move this camera up here just a little bit. Watch Jackson Byes. Look where his left side tires are, basically lined up with that striped white line. And then you notice here the 33 starts to wiggle up. Jackson Byes right there. Does start to come down a little bit. I think that might be the 19 coming down on the 33. I'm not sure if they were trying to get lined up bumper to bumper. Either way, that little bit of contact gets the 33 out of shape as Craighead catches it. Byes checks up. That causes Eberhard eventually to get towards the side of the 13 of Waring, which looks like there may have been a little bit of netcode between, but I think you could obviously make the fair argument that there was likely going to be some sort of contact there basically anyway. And then for Dustin Cohen here and multiple others, basically just victims of circumstance. I mean, there's nothing they could do as the 13 gets turned. It's going to be the mad scramble as Warren goes back across the racetrack. You saw the 20 get involved. And one other car down there, that's actually Tim White. The 239 looks like he took a second shot off the inside safer barrier, so this could be potentially significant damage for him as well. See if we can get an alternate angle of this here from TV1. Where does the big hit happen for Cohen? Oh, it's right there. Man, that was a huge hit for Cohen right there. I'm not sure if you're able to quite catch it from that angle, but the 20 caught the 90 as he was coming back across the racetrack. There was nowhere for him to go right here. And you're going to see it. Davenport dives low. He sees it coming, tries to miss it. And as they're sliding down, nowhere for Cohen to go. Look at this hit. Bam! Right to the left rear suspension of Daniel Eberhardt. So that is going to be a fast repair for both of those race cars if they're wanting to continue here in this race tonight. As we go back live, Malik Ray is currently being scored as your leader. And you notice all the drivers did decide to go down to pit. I'm very curious to see, though, who decides to top off this time around. Try to get yourself enough fuel to potentially, obviously, make it to the end. And if you can make it to the end, then the question is going to be, do you feel comfortable enough on fuel to get up and get racy? Don't forget, you obviously burn more fuel when you are leading a pack versus when you're in the draft, and maybe you can go 50 to 60% throttle for about 80% of the lap or so. So Malik Ray, we talked about, going to lead us back to green here for what will be our third restart of the night. Nathan Harper will line up second, Ken McCullough Jr. third, Cody Nagels fourth, and Dylan Jones continued to impress all night. But if we're being honest, we're not too surprised here. Obviously, Dylan, one of the veterans on the money racing scene, started in 27th, though. I think that's the more impressive part than anything, is the fact that he is now up inside the top 5. And so he has picked up 22 positions from where he started this race at. Hunter Hastings going to restart from 6th. We'll have Chase Mastretta back in 7th. Chase Mastretta going to have a teammate, David Flanagan. The two Jack Shack drivers will start in 7th and 8th for this restart. Brock Westmoreland, the first guy that was inside the top 10 that will go top off. That's going to shuffle things up just a little bit track position-wise. But I really think I like this call here for Brock Westmoreland and really anybody that's about mid-pack on back. Still a lot of laps to go, all things considered. But I like the idea of getting yourself as comfortable as you can with fuel mileage so that you know you can go without, hopefully, having to really think about it at all here as we get into what will likely be this final green flag run. By the way, a couple of announcements. Of course, if you're interested in joining MMS Money Racing, you can always check out their Discord. We've got the link to that Discord in the description of the broadcast. And these guys always hosting money races, especially I look at days like Mondays, even Wednesdays and Fridays. Some of the big days that MMS does like to host money racing. Big fields. I mean, we didn't talk a lot about the payout here tonight. I'm not sure what these guys based it on, but I can almost guarantee you that it is going to be a relatively full payout. We had a lot of drivers show up. I believe it was 27 or 28 after official counting. First place tonight set to go home with $120, 90 to second, 80 to third, 70 to fourth, 60 to fifth, and then $55 to the sixth place finisher. A couple of notes on my end. I mentioned a couple of times here tonight. Obviously happy to be back in the booth and happy to see everybody once again. Now, I will mention, obviously, a little bit rusty just because it's been a while. So, we had a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little bit of a slow start at the tip of the broadcast with some of the intros, but obviously a lot over the last couple of weeks in terms of refreshing the PGR graphics here for 2026, getting some things set up for ERA. And then, of course, we had the PGR 500 less than a month ago. How big of an event that was, and with ERA kicking off this week, it is a great time to get yourself involved in PGR eSports. Well, as the iRacing.com pace car works off turn 4, lights are off, so it will be turning down the pits this time around. That means field will go back into the hands of Malik Ray and Nathan Harper. Again, we believe Malik was your leader, but this time he actually chose to go down to the bottom. Not sure if there's some alliance right there with the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr., or if he just feels maybe a little bit safer down there. Either way, he's going to lead us back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. It's going to be exactly 17 laps to go here from Talladega. Good restart from Malik Ray. Got through the first couple of gears well. Didn't get himself out too far in front. And he'll make that same jump to the high side. This time it's a little bit earlier than the backstretch. Now he's going to go back down to the bottom. Got to control all the momentum you can in this first lap. Further back in the field, Justin Melikar really wanted to jump up just behind Sean Corbett. Looked like John Ward actually cut him a little bit of a break as Miles Bagley is now going to jump back to the high side of the racetrack. for Bagley here. You notice what we just saw up front? The one on Malik Gray get clear. Well, I'd be curious to see if Melikar and a few others here that are on this third lane, if they can get together, can they maybe pull themselves clear up towards the front of the field? Cameron Craighead going into pit here. Got to assume that this may have been something to do with that last caution, and the 33 maybe being assigned fault. And that is what will set him now in a spot where he will need a caution before this thing's all said and done. Trouble, big wreck going into turn number 1. Ken McCullough Jr. is in it. Steve Sizemore with a little bit of contact at the end, and he was not alone. We had a few drivers get collected in this one. They're still sliding to a halt over here in turn number 1 and 2. Looked like, couldn't figure out if that was the 20 car or somebody else that got involved towards the back end. There's Ken McCullough Jr., Hunter Winkler involved in this one again. It was the 80 of Larry McDonald, who also finds himself with some front nose damage to his Chevy Camaro. And so this is a big shakeup now, that it's going to push us closer to 10 laps to go for our next restart. Let's go back here and get a look at what happened. This may be classified as the big one. So far here tonight, Ken McCullough Jr. leading, it looked like that outside line, and he just gets hooked, at least from that view. Let's see if there was any contact from the inside. Watch it from the chopper view. So there's Ken. You see him lead car on the outside line. As they go past the travel here, Harper's trying to set him up for a push, but he's still kind of, that car's not really straight as he's getting to his back bumper. He's almost kind of drifting a little bit sideways, and that gets Ken McCullough Jr. offset enough to get the 03 turned down into the inside line. As he goes back up, it is chaos from here. It was a big hit for the 03 and the 15. Melikar plows through. He had absolutely nowhere to go. And then a lot of the rest of these guys, just collateral damage here. The 92 of Ward, 45 is Sean Corbett. Miles Bagley had nowhere to go. Pretty great job right there by the 20. Maybe a little bit of damage for Cohen on the left front, but certainly could have been a whole lot worse for him as well. Now for Ken McCullough Jr., he has not had to use his fast repair here tonight. There's that pretty big shot for Nathan Harper as the 03 gets tagged a few times. And it's tough because, you know I said earlier in the broadcast that you got to have a little bit more give and take. It's early on. You don't have to get too aggressive, but we're starting to get to that point in the race where you really do have to start to get aggressive. And for Harper here, I know I said the push was a little bit offset, which to me it looks like it was, but this wasn't anything crazy. It's not like he did some sort of overly aggressive pushing, something that you would expect that to happen in. And for the driver out of Savannah, Georgia, Ken McCullough Jr. didn't have the best first race of the night. This is not going to be what he wanted here late in the second. We'll have to see if he's able to bounce back from this one. Back live at the front of the field here, Malik Ray does lead. Nathan Harper going to go in, a few others as well. This could be a mix of a few things. For some drivers, fixing damage. For others, depending on what you feel like your fuel situation is, just going in to top off just to be extra safe. These guys, I would assume, only going to run one one overtime. We do have that one fast repair, though, as well here tonight. And if you're looking for more racing action on PGR eSports, of course, you can catch Money Racing in some form just about every night. But tomorrow night, I will be back over with the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Looking forward to the season finale, I believe, for those guys. And then as we get into Wednesday, the kickoff of Season 1 for ERA. Thursday, it's the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway Series. And then Dega Pros will be back on Friday with the Stars and Stripes Series. So, fourth caution of the night so far. Our longest green flag run really came on that first one of the night where we almost got to green flag pit stops, didn't quite make it, and we're starting to see the wrecks get slowly but surely more destructive here with each caution that does fly. Malik Ray got to be feeling pretty good, though, out in front, qualified on the front row. He's been able to lead quite a few laps. In fact, I believe he is the driver who has led the most laps up to this point in the race. And so we'll see if he is able to keep that trend going for the rest of the way. As we do gear up to get back to green flag racing, we are going to take one more commercial break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us for the restart here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Thanks for joining us here this evening for some MMS Money Racing here at the High Banks. Getting closer now to crunch time. We're starting to get towards the end of the race, and obviously the intensity continues to pick up. But for the man up front, Malik Ray, he has been stout so far. You look at the job he's done so far. We talked about what he was able to do up front. 13 lead changes now, and 38 of 50 laps complete. Just 11 laps to go here, or 12 I should say. The pace car pulls off this time. So without further ado, we're going to close things out, get geared up and ready to go once again. We'll have to see if the inside can get a better restart. We're not quite at that point where you really want to have all the temps, but you got to start to set yourself up in position. And don't be too shocked if that third lane is quick to get rolling. 4 cautions so far here tonight, and we're going to be left with just 12 laps to go here at Talladega. Field rolls back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air, and as they cross the line, it's Malik Ray who once again gets a much better restart through the gears, trying to pull Chase Mastretta clear. Those two I doubt working together tonight, but they're going to work together right here. They'll jump down to the inside as they climb the banking into turn 1. And very interesting with these Xfinity cars, unlike the next gens, how much easier it is to control these lines, especially on the first lap. Mastretta, though, trying to find a way to ditch Malik. He's going to do it. The 8 car gets to the outside. Dylan Jones follows, but they may have went a lane too high. No, Nagels is now going to split to the bottom. All of a sudden, Malik Ray in desperate need for some help. He's going to get it, but now Mastretta tries to block to the middle. And man, that was another close call. Watch out back. Jackson buys with a big checkup. Middle's going to get a surge, and for Chase Mastretta, the move is going to cost him. He'll fade back on the third lane, but they may get a little bit of a charge going here. Curious to see who else jumps out. Carlbon wants to go in that red and black JSR car, but he just doesn't have quite enough momentum or clearance to do so yet. David Flanagan, another one of the Jack Shack drivers who could have an opportunity to jump out. How about 4 wide out back? Kyler Wynn now trying to make his way through the field, and he's going to play a little bully ball here. He'll split the gap between Steve Sizemore and Cameron Craighead. They'll go back to 3 wide. Nagels trying to side draft the the inside, but stuck in the middle. Not a lot of momentum. That's another checkup. One car's got to dive all the way down to the bottom. That may have been Carlbon. No, it was Mike Davenport. He's got to catch it in the 55. Man, I don't know if these guys are going to hold on for another 10 laps. We are 4 wide again. Check this out. Coming out of turn number 4, the 9 of Hunter Hastings leads on the bottom. 2 Chevys. Now, 1 on the inside, 1 on the outside, but the man in the middle, David Flanagan, trying to get that charge and the momentum to get himself clear of the lead, but he's just not been able to quite do it as of yet. Man, trying to catch the breath here before we get towards the end, but nobody able to do that right now. Still 3 wide, some contact. Eberhardt's going to go around. This could collect the back half of the pack. Big hit as Bies goes upside down. The 19 flipping off of turn number 2, and they're going to collect the 8 of Steve Sizemore as well. 5th caution of the night. And this is going to send us into late race restart territory. Bies is going to take the tow bill. I think he feels like his night is done. And hey, that's the attitude right there. I'm sure he's not happy about it, but if nothing else, you got to laugh somewhat about the chaos of the wreck itself. That car got airborne as he went up into the safer barrier, and he is going to be one of the first cars that has to retire here in this race tonight. He'll join Nathan Harper, Tim White, and Dustin Cohen. Currently find themselves in a similar spot. Steve Sizemore as well had some significant damage. He may be calling it a night. Looks like Daniel Eberhardt. Obviously broken front suspension. See the front hood ripped off of that race car. Let's see if he's got a fast repair though, and if he can limp this thing back around in order to potentially go and take that fast repair. Still keep himself in contention. Well, let's go back and look at this. This was kind of an odd setup here because it almost looked like the 90 wiggled, saved it, and then all of a sudden got shot back out of shape. So we're going to rewind this and play it slow first. Well, actually, we'll pause it first. Let's go to the aerial shot of this. Watch Daniel Eberhardt, second car on that third lane. And he gets a little bit offset here with Chase Mastretta. He's got to check up. Mellicar gets into the back of him. That gets the 90 a little bit out of shape. And then it looks like Eberhardt's trying to save it. And, maybe that second little correction gets him down into Carl Bond, and it just starts to kind of get away from him there on the outside. Eventually goes around, gets down into Jackson Buys, and from there it's on. Watch this hit for the 19. This is a huge impact. Jackson Buys, all 4 tires up off the ground. He's going to do a barrel roll. And then Steve Sizemore there got hooked on the back end of that. Looked like Davenport may have had some damage as well. So not the biggest incident we've seen so far, at least in terms of car count, but certainly the hardest crash we've had up to this point. Daniel Eberhardt, as he slides down, you see Steve Sizemore. Obviously nothing he could do in this one. It's good the onboard view for Jackson Buys here. An innocent victim really didn't even see this coming here. He's going to be riding in front. Next thing you know, he's going to see it out from the back. In fact, play that back just a little bit further right here. Watch it from the cockpit view. This is Jackson Buys' POV. So big hit. You heard the motor expire, and I think Buys basically knew right away that he was done. You heard him stop that car and decide to tow it back to the pits. No big surprise there, but how about this from our TV static cam? Watch this impact once again. There's Buys, and there's the hit for Sizemore. Mellicar went down the track, but it looked like he did save it. And for Bagley, looked like maybe Brock Westmoreland was able to sneak around the inside there without any further issues. So David Flanagan now going to have control of this restart. First restart in really most of this race that Malik Ray is not going to be the control car. Hunter Hastings will line up on the outside here for the front row. And it will be Cody Nagels followed by Malik Ray. Back in row number 2. Chase Mastretta, Evan Carbon row 3. Dwayne Drummond, James Waring row 4. And then it'll be Cameron Craighead and Dylan Jones rounding out the rest of the top 10. A couple more people to give a shout out to here tonight, just in case we missed anybody. I thought I gave Ethan Eckert a shout out, but I do see him in the chat now. Infinite Frost, good to see you in here as well. This is Buys clips Craighead, whoever the subway car is. It was about an earlier incident, but again, Craighead was actually given the incident for that. Obviously, in this case, be curious to see who Race Control puts it on, even if it is on Daniel Eberhardt. Not a big deal if it's just an EOL, because he already had a ton of damage anyway. But if it's a drive-through, which I believe it might be, that could be a bigger deal. Although I know these guys have some sort of rule where if it's in the last 10 laps, maybe it's just an EOL. Something we'll get pretty good clarity on, depending on where the 90 car restarts for potentially this final restart. I mean, we're going to be going back green here with probably right around 5 laps to go, would be my general guess. And obviously for David Flanagan, currently leading the way here, this is a pretty good position to be in late. When you get to, I would say, about 2 to 3, maybe 4 if you're really stretching it, laps to go in a race, that's when you are kind of at the point where you don't have to do a ton in terms of conserving temps. It depends, though, about what you want to do. If you're trying to push the entirety of the last lap, you maybe got to save a little bit more. But if you're kind of going to be on the strategy of you're going to be pushing and managing at the same pace, and I would say the rest of the way, you could pretty much keep that same pace. Obviously, Flanagan here going to have to try to maintain control of the lines as well. That's the other big variable at the end of these races here at Super Speedways, and always very tough to do, especially for David Flanagan. We'll see how he's able to control it here as he tries to keep his number 31 out in front. Talking about some of your biggest movers, we pointed him out earlier. Evan Carbon, currently sitting in 6th. He has picked up 13 positions from where he started this race at. So the driver out of Berkeley Township, New Jersey, currently going in the right direction, Dwayne Drummond has picked up 14 spots from where he started this race at. Dylan Jones inside the top 10. We've called his name a few times tonight. He has currently picked up 18 positions from where he started this race at. Now for Hunter Hastings, who is going to restart second here, you know, I just realized earlier, I talked about Hunter Winkler, and I'm starting to think now it may have been Hunter Hastings here that was actually carrying the driver cam I'm trying to match up the mustaches. I think that was actually Hunter Hastings, so apologize, Hunter, if you're watching this one. I know you only had the first name down, and 2 Hunters in here tonight, so we had to get that situation sorted out. We'll see if Hunter can get the job done here as this thing is all said and done. Well, I can't tell. We're going to go with Hunter Hastings for now. You guys let me know if you think different in the chat. Sean Corbett, called his name a few times here tonight. He was also carrying an onboard view, but currently sitting in 13th. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do here as well. Well, lights off on the pace car here. Going to make the left turn for potentially the final time here tonight. We do still have an overtime attempt if we were to need it. This restart will still come in regulation. 2x2 formation. Watch out, too, for that 82 of Kyler Wynn. You see him about 6 cars back on the inside. We saw him going 4 wide throughout the course of that last short run. Don't be too shocked if he tries to do that once again. A little bit of a stack up on the inside here. Got to watch out further back. Green flag back in the air, though, and it's a great restart for the inside line. David Flanagan with a big jump. We'll see if he decides to do the same thing that we saw Malik Ray do, and he will. Quick to jump to the high side. A little bit late on that cover, though. Hunter Hastings is able to cut him a break. And now they'll go 2x2. Inside's only got 2 cars, and Mistretta not able to get locked up with the one of Malik Ray. It's going to be interesting to see if this inside can hold even at all. Down the back straightaway. There's that big run for Flanagan. Jumped down maybe a little bit too soon. That could open the door here for Hunter Hastings by the time they get to turn number 3. A lot of bobbing and weaving further back. Chase Mistretta splits Malik Ray back down to the inside. The one car going to stay up top. And oh man, Mistretta, another big save. That's going to stack him up. Kyler Wynn goes to the inside. The 41 of Drummond's going to find himself split out here. It looks like they're all going to catch it. They almost go 4 wide, but everybody's going to mind their manners here for the moment. But we are coming to just 5 laps to go in this race. Third lane starting to get working once again. John Ward leads it. You can see James Waring here from the onboard view, trying to see if he can start to get that momentum generated. They've got a lot of cars behind him here. The big question is, will they have enough time? I think they've got more than enough time. Dylan Jones is going to jump up. And the more momentum this lane gets trouble. John Ward trying to save it. Got him to the outside wall. He catches it, but Corbett's going to go down to the inside wall. Caution's going to fly. Big hit to the inside for Sean Corbett. And that is going to destroy the left side of his race car. 6th caution now of the night. And this one will officially put us in a restart. Put us in an overtime attempt, I should say. And it will be a 2-lap shootout to decide it. Corbett going to take that car immediately to the pits. Feeling like that damage may be a little bit too substantial to either continue the race, or maybe he'll choose to take a fast spare if he's got one left. But for Corbett, the odds of him having a shot, I think, are just about over. So Evan Carlbon, interestingly enough, currently being scored as your race leader. We'll see if that is the case when things shuffle out. I'm not sure if a couple of these guys are trying to save a little bit of fuel or what the deal is. In the meantime, let's go back and look at what sparked this wreck here. It was towards the backstretch, a little bit further back, right around James Waring. That's where this all starts, but it was actually Sean Corbett who got the worst of it. So we'll go back here to, again, right around James Waring. That's what first caught my eye. It looked like somewhere around there is where this incident may have started. And you notice the 13 here. They're going to go almost 4 wide. Sean Corbett in the black, gray, and yellow 45. Oh, I think he's trying to duck in line just behind the 59 of Mark Vondel. He misjudges it just a little bit. Actually gets into the right rear of Vondel. That sends the 45 back up in the track. A little bit of ping pong off the 13 of Waring. That's what's ultimately going to send him around. Let's get a different angle of this here. Show you exactly what I'm talking about here. See if we can go back to the chopper view. It always does such a good job here of showing the angle of where that contact starts. Again, watch the 45. Again, that car that's going to try to split 4 wide, but it all actually started with the checkup for John Ward. So I should mention that. The 92 here tries to size up Dylan Jones, but then as James Warren tries to follow him, just gets him in the right rear, turns the 92 around. It's a heck of a save for John Ward. And then in the process of that checkup, that's what causes Corbett to try to split the gap. A little bit of contact sends him down, and then nowhere to really run here as he takes a pretty big shot off the inside safer barrier. You see the pieces flying. Broken suspension is what is going to officially end the night for Sean Corbett. A couple more angles of this one here before we do go back live. See him shoot across the track. Very lucky for Jackson Buys. and for Brock Westmoreland, it looked like right there, to not get involved in this. I mean, that was about as close as you can get. Watch again here from the cockpit view. Whoa, man, Jackson Buys. Talk about quick reaction time. He had to absolutely slam on the brakes, let off the gas for really just a hair of a second, but that split-second reaction was just enough to keep him out of trouble. Watch this in full speed. Man, it does not get much closer than that. A heck of a job on the wreck avoidance there for Jackson Buys, who, by the way, we talked about him flipping not too long ago, but with where he's being scored, he's actually still in contention for this race. Jackson Buys right now is sitting all the way back in that. Actually, I thought he was just outside the top 20 here, but it looks like now for Jackson Buys, currently sitting in at 23rd, and he is no longer a lap down. So for Jackson Buys, definitely not out of this. He's going to go in, top off on fuel, maybe get a fresh set of good years, and get ready to run this overtime attempt that we will see to end this thing. So if you're just tuning in, Evan Carlbahn is now your race leader under your sixth caution of the night. Going to be Hunter Hastings, who lines up on his outside in second. Cody Nagels back in third. David Flanagan fourth. Chase Mastretta fifth. Malik Ray sixth. Dylan Jones seventh. And it's Cameron Craighead back in eighth. Kyler Wynn ninth. And Dwayne Drummond rounding out the top 10. So let's remind you of the overtime rules. Before we do that, I want to give you one more look at the race analysis of what we have seen so far here tonight. Again, it was 50 laps to start. We've ran 48 of 50 laps so far, but it's going to take an overtime attempt to get this thing finished up. We talked about Evan Carlbahn being your current leader. 6 cautions for the 50 laps that we have ran so far, and of those 6 cautions, it has made 17 of the 50 laps that we have ran so far. 16 lead changes up to this point. I have a feeling we could see another 4 or 5 in the final 2 laps of this race. Carlbahn is going to jump to the high side. I think he feels pretty confident that that is the place to be here for this final restart, and why not? We have seen it work so well for the guys who have chosen it. We saw Malik Ray try it a couple of times. Flanagan did it from the bottom, but remember, the idea here is you are going to try to get a better restart and then jump down to the bottom through 1 and 2. Usually the inside rolls a little bit better there, but then as you start to get to the exit of 2 and down the back stretch, the outside gets a lot of momentum on that first lap. And of course, if you're Evan Carlbahn, the goal is to time it up just right to cover that momentum and put yourself in position coming to the white flag. So Hunter Hastings here is going to line up on the inside of Carlbahn. And for Evan right here, it is worth mentioning, by him choosing the outside, he's also going to line up with a couple of his Jack Shack teammates. The 31 of Flanagan and the 8 of Chase Mastretta. For Hunter Hastings, he's going to have the 6 of Nagels behind him. Malik Ray is trapped third on that inside line. Dylan Jones, Cameron Craighead back there as well. And a few damaged cars in the mix. Most notably Craighead with a little bit of front end damage, and even further back, and it looks like that might be the 80 machine of Larry McDonald, who we haven't talked about a ton tonight, but Larry's got a pretty good run going. I'll tell you what, Larry, one of the veterans of Money Racing, but just over the last year and a half, he has come so far in the speed that he has been able to have in that race car each and every week that he shows up to these super speedways. For Larry's picked up 5 spots so far tonight, and with top 6 cashing, it is still a possibility. Currently sits in 11th, but he is going to have to work for it over the course of these last 5.25 miles here at Talladega. So as the field works off of turn 4, again, overtime rules, green-white checkered attempt. I believe we're only going to have 1 if these guys are following PGR rules. We'll make that official if it becomes an issue. Otherwise, we're going to run 2 laps, and they will be under green. Of course, if there is an incident, I would assume race control will figure that out after the race. And of course, if you're deemed at fault, you would be losing your position. But it's time to find out who wants to be a winner here tonight at Talladega. Carlbahn and Hastings going to lead us back into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air, 2 laps to go. Good restart for the outside, dress rehearsal style, and a beautiful jump for Carlbahn. He's going to be quick to jump down to the bottom as they climb the banking into turn 1. Oh man, we got 1 car off here. That stacks up the field. Everybody's trying to sort it out. They're going to let the 9 of Hastings try to come back on the racetrack, but now they're 3 wide. Malik Ray getting squeezed. Now they're going to start to broaden out just a little bit. And that wreaked a lot of havoc towards the middle pack. That's going to spark up a lot of runs here by the time they get off of turn number 4. Flanagan, though, does go back down to the bottom with his teammate, and they are trying to pull Evan Carlbahn back in contention. What does Nagels do? He's up top, but he's got a lot of momentum. Chooses to play the patience game right now. He'll stay in line and push Chase Mastretta further back. How about Daniel Eberhardt now jumping to the high side? This third lane's going to try to get going. As we work through the trial trouble, the 20's going to get turned out back. Big hit, and the caution's going to fly. So this race, is it official? We'll have to see. No. Looks like these guys are going to slow down, so we may actually have a few green-white checkers here tonight. I'm going to pop up the overlay briefly just to check that. And yes, that is your answer. We've actually got 2 green-white checkers here tonight. So MMS running it just a little bit different than PGR. I mentioned earlier, guys, it's been a little while since I've been here. Takes a little bit to get back into the rhythm, but I'll tell you what, I'm excited that we've got another attempt at this. Man, we were so close. It looked like that was going to be a wild final lap as the pace car cuts up the field going down the back stretch. And so it is going to be, at least at the way it appears at the moment, I don't think Daniel Eberhardt is going to be your race leader here. We'll have to see how it gets sorted out. But then again, we were focused on the chaos towards the back of the field as they got to the tri-oval. And there was a fair amount of chaos even towards the front of the field. Well, let's start first, though, with the wreck that took place out back. That was actually Cohen, who's had a pretty rough day so far here. And I believe he may have gotten collected. See the 20 car. Oh, he was right in the middle of 4 wide and started getting bounced around here. And so there is a stack up in front. It actually looks like with David Flanagan. Watch kind of at the top of your screen. See the pink and white car. Not sure if it's a push or what, but he gets a little bit turned out of line. That checks him up all the way back to John Ward. Ward's got to duck out of line, and as he does so, Cohen starts to fill the gap. He's going to try to shoot up to see if he can give Ward a little room. But I don't know if he realized that they were 4 wide as he gets up in a Mellicar, back down into Ward, and it's on from there. Jackson buys with the finishing blow, but nothing Jackson did wrong right there. And as the 20 goes up the track, oh man, he's going to collect Mark Vondell. That sends the 59 down the racetrack. Looks like Mark did miss any contact with cars. We'll see if he was able to save it from that point. And then, of course, the big hit that did ensue for the 20 machine of Cohen. Let's go back and get a couple more angles of this here from TV2. See, Vondell is going to go down the racetrack. There's that big hit to the outside fence. And for the 20, who had to obviously take a fast repair earlier, does not have another one here. Vondell did save it. It's a heck of a job by the 59 car to keep himself in contention. Let's go to the onboard view here for Mark Vondell. Gets turned and just able to barely split the gap behind Jackson Buys. Gets in the grass and straightens that car out. Good job to be able to keep himself in contention for this one. Well, not a lot to break down with that wreck, but certainly a lot to talk about here for what will now officially be the final restart. And once again, a little bit curious on if these guys will run it out, similar to PGR style, or if the caution does fly for an incident up front, will they throw the caution and end this thing under yellow? Chase Mastretta currently being scored as your race leader. Cody Nagels in second. David Flanagan third. Evan Carlbon fourth. And it's Cameron Craighead currently rounding out the top 5. Malik Ray, Daniel Eberhardt, Dylan Jones, Hunter Hastings, Kyler Wentz, 6th through 10th. And Ken McCullough Jr. Talk about the roller coaster of a day that a couple other guys have had. He's had one himself. Dale 3 still with a little bit of damage on the front nose of his race car. But too late to go in and worry about getting that damage fixed. He will be staying out. Trying to see if he can find a way to get some cash here before this thing is all said and done tonight. By the way, 7 cautions in 50 laps of racing so far. It has definitely been on the busier end. These guys started out with a relatively long green flag run early. But then as we know, cautions tend to breed cautions. And it just seemed like that trend continued to increase, especially as we got towards the latter portions of this race. Now I'm looking at some of the drivers that are going to be lined up here near the front. Obviously, you've got a lot of Jack Shack drivers, and then, of course, Nightmare Esports drivers, with Cody Nagels leading the way. He'll be looking for some help from Daniel Eberhardt, who is being scored back in the 7th spot. Dylan Jones in 8th. But for the Jack Shack guys, they still have power in numbers up front, with, of course, David Flanagan, Chase Mastretta, and you go back to Evan Carlbon. All of those guys well within the top 10. So it looks like the lights are going to go off on the pace car this time. Remind you of those payouts one more time. Top 6. And it is going to be $120 to first, 90 to second, 80 to third, 70 to fourth, 60 to fifth, and then $55 to the 6th place finisher here tonight. So it looks like for Nagels here, again, assuming he is the race leader, down on the inside of the racetrack, you wonder if he maybe did that to try to separate the two Jack Shack teammates. It's going to put Mistretta and Cameron Craighead together on the high side. And as they get ready to get back to green flag racing, we have still got quite a few cars running in this lead pack here. So definitely the chance for some more chaos to break out. But one thing I would look for is that third lane. We really saw it starting to develop. And if John Ward and James Warren didn't get a little bit offset there coming down the backstretch, I think those guys had a big opportunity. That was actually before this final attempt, or this first attempt rather, at a green-white checker. That was on the caution that sent us to overtime. But even during just that two-lap shootout, all the chaos and all the scrambling, we saw a lot of big runs coming back towards the leaders there as we were coming off of turn 4. So something you got to keep in mind, but I think Nagels plays this the same way that everybody who has had a chance to lead a restart tonight has, and that is get a jump, go up in front, back down through turn 1 and 2, and then back up again down the backstretch. From there, it is going to be all about making decisions. Talk a lot about blocking when it comes to super speedway racing. A lot of these guys are good at it, but there's a very fine line between a late block and one that is able to win you the race. All right, well, we are getting down to crunch time. It's going to be just over 5.2 miles left to go here at Talladega. Cody Nagels trying to find victory lane tonight. Chase Mistretta trying to steal one for the Jack Shack. As they roll back up into the restart zone, it looks like it's actually going to be Mistretta that's got control. Good restart for the outside, but a little bit more even this time. Nagels is actually going to hold just about side by side with Chase Mistretta as they get into turn 1. And for Cameron Craighead, not a lot of momentum there either, so neither lane is going to have the opportunity to control down the super stretch. Still 2x2 though here. Watch what happens. I said neither lane would be able to control, but for Cody Nagels, he actually does pull clear, so the 6 car will be able to jump up. He'll have control down the backstretch. And watch out for that third lane. No takers just yet. Millicar in the purple machine was taking a look, but John Ward is going to beat him to the punch. The 92, the only car on the outside, though. They'll need some more help to make it work. Still 2x2 at the front of the pack. Nagels chose the outside. Now he's going to get buried by one car. That's the 31 of Flanagan that jumps up. Big save. Flanagan had a huge moment. Now Nagels is going to make a big save. They're going to wreck out back. The rest of the field trying to hang on. Most of them do. We're going to be coming to the white flag, so race will be official. Still a ton of chaos breaking out back, but 2 wide for about the front 3 rows, and then they go 3 wide out back. You got to watch out here. Malik Ray finds himself in the catbird seat now, but he's going to have to make a couple of blocks. First one is going to take him to the high side. He's able to cover the push on David Flanagan. And for Flanagan here, he will be content to push down the backstretch. Evan Karlbahn got to be saying to Daniel Eberhardt, push, give me all you got right now. The 90 trying to propel the 78 back out in front as they work through turn 3 for the final time. Jackson Byes is going to slot down, 4th in line on the inside. Now he goes back up. No third lane just yet. We'll see if anybody's got one more run to do it. For now, though, Flanagan content to push Malik Ray. The outside starts to charge back. On the inside, Karlbahn's got to run. They're going to drag race all the way back to the line as they wreck out back. Malik Ray wins it on the outside at Talladega. He got the run at the right time. And for Malik Ray, he will find victory lane here tonight in a position where it really didn't look like he was going to have a shot at the win there when we got the final restart. But what does he always find a way to do? He always finds a way to get the job done. Heck of a win right there for the number 1 machine, and got to think he's going to bring it around. Feel pretty good after that one. Evan Karlbahn was able to slot in second. We saw that photo finish. We'll look at the official gap here in just a moment. David Flanagan, the final of your podium finishers here tonight, as he will take home that 3rd spot. So for Malik Ray, got to assume he's going to bring it around and burn it down here for the virtual fans. I'll tell you what, this is a guy who's got a lot of momentum. I'm very curious to see if we're going to see him in ERA here this Wednesday. And if so, he could be a big concern for the rest of the field. I mean, talked about teammates. I don't really think he had many teammates around him there towards the end. Obviously, Flanagan, with the veteran experience, making sure that he stuck with Malik in a position where it would help both himself and Malik there towards the end. And so as a result, they both cash. But for Malik Ray, we always talk about how many wins he's got over on PGR. He's got probably in equal parts a similar amount over here on the MMS side of things. And a little bit of damage to the front nose of that Ford Mustang. Shows you how hard he was pushing through all the chaos that we saw over the course of those last couple of laps. And so for Malik Ray, as he continues to burn it down here, I do want to take the opportunity to start to turn our attention now to the final results here tonight and who finished where. Obviously, Malik Ray will be getting scored as your official race winner, but for some of the other guys, a pretty good result here, especially for the Jack Shack drivers. We talked about Evan Carlbaum taking home second, and we'll go ahead and get this swapped over to the race results. Carlbaum takes home second, and it is another one of the Jack Shack teammates, David Flanagan, who finishes in third. Jackson Bias goes from flipping in the back half of the race to still managing to finish in the top 5. He takes home fourth, and then Cody Nagels, who was on the front row for that final restart, going to finish in fifth. The last man that will cash here tonight is Chase Mastretta, the other driver who started on the front row for that final restart. He finishes in sixth. Justin Melikar back in seventh. Kyler Wynn, actually one of the more quiet nights for the 82 machine, just couldn't quite get within the top 5. He finishes in eighth. Ken McCullough Jr. ninth, and Miles Bagley rounding out the top 10. John Ward, part of the last lap scramble, finishes in 11th. Larry McDonald back in 12th. Brock Westmoreland going to take home that 13th spot here tonight. Nathan Harper back in 14th. It'll be Dwayne Drummond back in 15th with Hunter Winkler back in 16th. Hunter Hastings finishes in 17th. And then it's Daniel Eberhard back in 18th. The last two drivers in the top 20 tonight, Mark Vondell and James Waring in the 13 machine. Cameron Craighead, we saw him with some damage, also caught up in the chaos there of that final restart, finishes 21st. Dylan Jones 22nd with Mike Davenport coming in 23rd. Dustin Cohen finishes 24th. Sean Corbett 25th. Steve Sizemore in 26th. And the last driver that started the race here tonight was Tim White. He finishes in 27th. All right, well, we are going to go try to grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We will be right back at Talladega. All right, and welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway as we begin our post-race ceremonies here after a phenomenal night of racing on the MMS Money Racing scene. Talk about your race winner, Malik Ray. Of course, phenomenal job by him here tonight. He was one of course, a stacked podium. But tonight we're going to do things a little different. Normally we start with the race winner. I was going to say tonight we could start back from third and go all the way to first, but it looks like we're still waiting for Flanagan to jump in. So I take it back. We're going to actually keep it towards the normal schedule. We'll kick things off here with Malik Ray. We'll see if we can actually get him in the booth here. And I've got a few more things to set up. So we're going to actually transition here back to full screen, and I think we've got him now. Malik, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm good, but man, we got to ask about how you're doing tonight. You find victory lane. Obviously, it's got to feel pretty good, but a pretty chaotic final couple of laps. I didn't think you were in position there on that final restart to get it done, but you still managed to find a way. How'd you do it?
I just went to the bottom. I saw Chase had some rear end damage from an earlier accident, so I knew that that lane was not going to roll. So, like, once I saw an opening on the bottom, I just jumped down there. And then Flanagan, he got clear, and I had nose damage too. So, like, I kind of, like, I knew that I had to go up top. Otherwise, like, I wasn't going to have a shot at the win. So, shout out to Evan for his pushing, and Flanagan too. I appreciate both of their help tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I want to ask you about this car for just a moment. Obviously, a lot different than what we see with the current Cup cars, but it seemed like on a lot of the restarts, it was very easy to control the lines for whoever was the leader. Is there a little bit more of a control aspect to this car? And if so, what is the reason for that?
I just think everything, it just happens a lot slower in this car. Like the runs, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like everything is really predictable in this car, whereas like in the other ones, everything's like bang, bang, bang. Whereas like in this, I mean, everything just happens so slow. So it's a lot, it's a lot easier for I guess everyone, including myself.
Well, obviously a Monday night, not one of the biggest money races we see of the week, but you will get to take home a bit of extra cash here tonight. A tough series to win in nonetheless, though. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Roger Shelton at Tent Solutions, and you guys for broadcasting, and David for the push those last couple laps. I appreciate you guys.
And Malik, thank you.
And Evan.
Absolutely. I was going to say, can't forget about some of the guys there towards the end. But Malik, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the win. And hopefully we will see you out here next week.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, Malik Ray, your race winner here tonight. That is going to now shuffle us to your second place finisher, which is none other than the 78 of Evan Carlbon. Evan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you take home second here tonight, man. You come up just a little bit short. Official scoring has it 0.05 of a second between you and Malik Ray. Is there anything you felt like you could have done different to put yourself in maybe a little bit of a better position coming to the line?
Not really. I mean, we were all working together in some regards. We had like 4 of the 5 shack cars up at the front. We were just trying to get a game plan to win, and I don't really think we executed that well, but all in all, it's still a great night for us. We had, I think 3 of us cashed tonight, so all in all, it's a great night for the Shack. Shack is almost rocking. We're almost there. We got a second and a third. I think David might be talking his case down there with Kenny, but other than that, yeah, it was a good run tonight. I was up front, got some TV time. I almost killed the field too. But yeah, it was a great run altogether.
Great run and a great finish. Well, obviously, Evan, I got to think this generates some momentum across really all series when you get a second place finish. I know you're yearning for that win. We've seen you do it a few times before. Do you think it's close?
But yeah, I mean, if I had any scope of luck in money racing, then I would probably have made a little bit more money over the years. But I feel like my skills are being honed in a little bit more and more each week and each month. I feel like I'm getting close to a win. I just have to execute on all 4 cylinders. But yeah, second place is a great finish. I came in here expecting really much nothing, probably to get wrecked at the end. But yeah, second place, I'll take it.
Absolutely. And of course, part of that good finish for the Jack Shack as a whole. Well, Evan, before we let you head out tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Thank the Jack Shack guys. There was like 6 of us in this race, and we executed. We got 3 of us in the cash spots, I think, maybe 4, depending on the last lap in the tri-oval. Also, I gotta thank all glory to God. I'm nothing without him. And I also gotta shout out Trev separately. You got free Trev. He ain't do nothing wrong. And yeah, thanks to Kenny and I guess you, Austin, for broadcasting. You didn't have to do this, but tonight you did. So yeah, it was good to showcase some MMS action.
Certainly was. Always great racing here at MMS. Well, Evan, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish, and we will see you once again next week.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before we get into your final podium finisher, a lot of chatter going on in post-race. I think these guys may have some controversy on the final results. So before we actually get to it, let's go back and look at, in fact, we'll go back to the white flag first before we get to anything here. I'm curious how some of this played out and if this had something to do with the way things ended. So you see David Flanagan here. We're going to actually back this up. This was on the white flag lap. And I'm not sure where the issue was. It may have been on the lap before. If so, we're not going to take us back that far. But nonetheless, talking about this finish once again, Malik Ray, big momentum into turn 3. This inside did start to tighten up. Now, Jackson Bly is one of the key players right here because by him staying where he is, there's just not a ton of momentum on that inside. They start to get it back rolling again as the outside breaks apart. But for David Flanagan, ooh, right there. I don't think that was anything Flanagan did, but it definitely makes you wonder, unless he got down into Eberhardt and that led to the incident. It's a little tough to say. It'll be interesting to see what race control says about it, but for the 2 guys up front, clean and green all the way through, coming back to the line, Malik Ray edges Evan Carlbon out by about 0.05 of a second. So while the results are not official, we are still going to try to bring up what, at least unofficially, is your third place finisher. That, of course, being David Flanagan. See how he's feeling after his run here tonight. Hey, David, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir, Austin.
Well, man, I saw you guys doing a lot of post-race chatter, so first question I got to ask, do we think the results are official, or was there some issue that we missed there in the last couple of laps?
No, they're still talking about it. I mean, I'm coming down, but I mean, I don't get no 3 wide call there. So, I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. D3's in my blind spot, so I can't really see them. So I'm just side drafting, like coming down the side draft at what very little there is to side draft in the B car. And I didn't realize D3 was half a lane up, and then Justin stuck it in that hole. So I guess I'm getting blamed for, I don't really know what's going on. So they're still hashing it out.
Well, we're going to roll with the unofficial results for now. We'll say you got third at the moment, and man, overall it was a great run for you and your team. How was it that the Jack Shack was able to stay so connected here tonight to get that 1-2-3 finish?
Yeah, we've just been doing a lot of team building stuff, really just trying to race together as much as we can and just really just help each other out. And I think it stood out tonight, even if I get nixed from third place here, but nonetheless, I think it stood out. I think everybody ran in the front for quite a bit on the team, and you know, hopefully next time we just put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever the payout positions are.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you guys were working together there, obviously, at the end, but was there any thought of trying to make a move on Malik coming to the line, or did you think it was just safer to try to push the rest of the way?
Yeah, you know, you never know what somebody's ambitions are, if they're going to go with you or not. I knew I had Cody behind me, and I don't really know if I step out there if Cody goes or what. So, you know, in my head, it's just like, oh, I got third place, you know. So I guess for now, but we'll see what happens. I don't really know, but yeah, it's a good race. It was fun.
Well, David, before we let you head out to hopefully celebrate, is there anyone that you want to thank or shout out after a good run tonight?
Yeah, of course, the Jack Shack and all my friends watching, if there's any watching tonight. But the Jack Shack, we definitely killed it tonight, and hopefully there'll be more.
David, thank you for talking to us once again. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you hopefully once again next week.
Yep, thanks for the broadcast, Austin.
No problem. All right, well, that is just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Talladega. What a great race it was. So excited to be back broadcasting for the MMS Money Racing Series. These guys put on a great event tonight. Again, looking forward to what we've got hopefully lined up at some point next week. PGR with a lot more broadcasting this week. Again, the big event, ERA, will kick off on Wednesday. We'll be talking about start times and stuff as we go through the day tomorrow. So make sure that you tune into that event. Otherwise, I'll keep it brief tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I hope you enjoyed. That'll do it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.